Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to this Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, November 4th, 2022, and this week, Uber annoys riders, a bombshell by a former employee, and Lyft blames drivers. LegalRideshare breaks it down. And from LegalRideshare, I'm joined by co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Greening. Bryant, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jared. Excited to be here on this Friday.
Yeah, this week is full of what seems to be pretty obvious things that these companies are doing wrong. But, I guess they don't know. But anyways, let's get right into it. We're going to start with Monday. The big question everyone has is Uber finally turning the corner to profitability? The Guardian adds, quote, the San Francisco-based ride-hailing giant squealed into, as they call, free cash flow, as they put it, in the last quarter after racking up, get this, $23 billion in losses in its first decade or so. Of course, as they explained, the last year has also had a steady decline from pre-COVID, some crises and a scarcity of drivers. But apparently they're saying, hey, that's behind us. We're doing better. Bryant, what do you think?
Well, they've been saying this for a long time now, that they're going to make money, that this is a profitable business, and we really haven't seen it yet. Certainly over the past few months and really maybe the past year, we have seen them going in the right direction. And, as things start to get back to normal, as we leave the height of COVID and all that, then maybe there's more money to be had. But I would like to see whether this is sustainable in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, later, as we discussed a few days down, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, Lyft chimes in on profitability and why they're cutting back. And we'll get to that later. But yes, we're looking for it. That's obviously the key. Let's head to Tuesday. Uber is testing push ads, and surprise, people aren't thrilled about it. TechCrunch reported, quote, Uber recently launched its new advertising division and in-app ads. But here's the thing. Apparently, those ads aren't staying within the app. So instead, ads from other companies are being sent out as push notifications, much to the chagrin of some Uber users. And over the weekend, people have turned to Twitter to basically complain and show screenshots. One in particular is Peloton, apparently, that's sending out ads. So not really a best start for a company saying, hey, it's going to be part of a fun user experience.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about being constantly berated with advertisements. And when you turn on an application, I guess that goes with the use of the application. When you're in the Uber app and they tell you that they're going to show you ads, well, I guess you have to get used to that. But you shouldn't be bombarded as you're just sitting there minding your own business at your desk working, and all of a sudden you've got a Peloton ad in your face. That's not what anybody signed up for, and that's going to turn a lot of people off. And hopefully they don't turn the Uber app off because they're so annoyed.
You know what it reminds me of? I was thinking about this when I saw this article. It's we're actually heading into that weird dystopian 90s movies, the sci-fi movies where you see like someone get into an autonomous car and then they're just bombarded with ads everywhere. It's like, that was not a roadmap for what people should do and what companies should do in the future. And it's starting to feel like it.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And we're seeing that companies are starting to track us, using our location data to give us an advertisement for a Starbucks if we're nearby. And, Uber is really, I feel like Uber's at risk of going down that path because they are keeping track of where we are. They have so much data on us. So if they want to push advertisements in our face, they're going to. And hopefully people don't stand for it because it's really not it's not the user experience that we want.
Right, and as we explained before, there's also really no benefit to the drivers, right? So it's directly and indirectly and specifically directly, it's going to end up impacting drivers. If passengers are annoyed by ads, they don't take an Uber, then that's less money for drivers again.
So yeah, we would like to see this money shared all around. If Uber's going to start making all this ad revenue and taking using it to make the customer experience not quite as good. Maybe they could make the rides a little cheaper for customers. Maybe they could throw a couple extra dollars in the driver's pockets. We'd like to see some profit sharing going on here, but it really just seems like Uber sees this money grab and isn't going to help anybody else with it.
Right, exactly. We're going to head into Wednesday. Lyft is bringing back subscriptions, but this time with a discount. TechCrunch adds, quote, the ride-hail giant Lyft has relaunched what they call Lyft Pink, its monthly subscription plan at half of its previous price. So at $9.99 per month or $99 per year, the new membership offers perks like free priority pickups and a discount of, as they say, at least 5% on preferred Lux and XL rides. Top drivers enrolled in Lyft Rewards also get the Ride Hails Company's rewards program for drivers will now also have access to a free monthly Lyft Pink membership, the company said. So kind of throwing a bone to the drivers there. What do you think?
More money for drivers, or an opportunity to save money for the drivers, that's nice. But we've seen these subscription plans come and go for both companies over the past decade. It seems like they're always looking for a way to bring in cash fast, but at the end of the day, they end up scrapping these subscriptions after a couple months. There just doesn't seem to be much of an appetite for it. So, if you're traveling a lot, if you find yourself in an Uber or Lyft, um, regularly, this may be an option for you, but I just don't see that there's enough people who are taking rides that often that paying $10 up front for a 5%, fare decrease, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think they're just hopping on the subscription model, which is really hot right now. But like you said, I just don't see I don't see a big reason for it unless you are really taking a lot of rides. But we sell she. We sell she. Let's let's head off into Thursday. This is interesting. A former Uber employee just said the quiet part out loud. Reuters reported, quote, Mark McGann, he was the whistleblower behind the so-called Uber files, said on Wednesday that the ride-hailing company seemed to be taking steps toward improving its work culture, but that its business model was still, as he says, absolutely unsustainable. So he led Uber's lobbying efforts to win over governments, and he identified himself as the source of the leaker, and he leaked more than 124,000 company files. He said he decided to speak out because he believed Uber knowingly has flouted laws and misled people about the benefits to drivers of the company's gig economy model. These are all things that we assumed, but it's pretty wild to hear from someone who was part of not just the company, but part of actually doing those things.
Yeah, you remember last week on our show when it seemed like all positive news? It
Right.
seems like this week is just a bunch of negativity. And what this whistleblower is saying is not news to anybody. I think he's just giving some credence and some credibility to what we've all already known. Uber does, willfully and regularly disregard the law. Uber does mistreat drivers. Uber has been operating in a ask for forgiveness later kind of approach. So it's interesting to hear from this individual because he's obviously been on the ground. He's been in meetings. He's seen documents that maybe most of us haven't had the opportunity to see, but he's just corroborating what we already knew.
Right. I was actually surprised to see that even after saying, pretty much these insane things Uber's done and it's true and, trying to push over governments, he did say that the new CEO is trying to turn the work culture around. So, that's interesting because he has nothing to lose at this point, to be honest. So I guess maybe that's a silver lining in this.
Absolutely. We love seeing, environments change and if Dara can come in, granted, he's been there, what, 4 years now. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's rushing towards any positive change, but if he can come in and clean up a little bit and make it a better place to work and hopefully make things run a little smoother, that's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. And we're going to end on Friday. Unfortunately, bad news for Lyft employees. Lyft just laid off 700 employees. And the interesting part is Lyft is blaming their drivers as the reason for the layoffs. So Gizmodo reported, quote, the company's two founders, John and Logan, sent the memo confirming the reports by the Wall Street Journal that they were saying earlier, suggesting that the company would lay off up to 13% of its workforce. So their reasoning, they say, is fears over an impending recession and increasing rideshare insurance were cited among the several reasons for the layoffs. The funny part is that I at least think it's funny that, the founders claim they, quote unquote, worked hard to bring down costs over the summer, but ultimately to no avail. So interesting that the drivers are yet again getting fingers pointed at them, and they're apparently responsible for all the layoffs.
It's expensive to run a rideshare company. It so happens to be.
Yeah, shocker.
It seems like these companies are just learning the real costs of operating their businesses. Yes, insurance costs a lot of money, but it's absolutely necessary because you're driving people around in cars on the road and accidents happen. Yes, labor costs money and you need to pay people to do this work. It costs money to provide transportation services. And for so long, these companies were just willing to operate on fake money. Essentially, they didn't care about profits. They didn't care about earnings. It was just grow fast, break things, and we'll deal with it later. Well, now we're having to deal with it, and unfortunately, it's cost a lot of people their jobs because these companies didn't plan for the actual expenses associated with their business.
Right. I mean, as you know well, you've warned many times on many shows and many publications. You've warned, just in this individual driver side, really the consequences of not having proper insurance, not dealing with it correctly, and now you're really looking at this in a company scale where, like you said, they were just kind of breaking things and it went to burn them. So now they're saying, okay, we're going to get the insurance that we need, but oh man, this actually costs way more than we thought. It's crazy that it's gotten to this point, and they're realizing this now.
Yeah, and they're actually cutting in a lot of ways. So just to stick with insurance as an example, the insurance coverage for Uber and Lyft has gotten worse over the years. So there used to be $1 million available pretty much for any incident that occurred on the platform. And now we're seeing instances where drivers aren't insured at all in a hit and run crash, or they have to pay a huge deductible to get their vehicle fixed. So, yes, this stuff costs a lot of money, but the companies are actually providing a worse service as time has gone on. So I'd like to see where all this money is going, um, because the experience hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, why don't we all? Well, that is, yeah, definitely the end of this week. But Brian, I'm going to give you the final words here before we sign off, just to give everyone a reminder about Legal Rideshare and how they can reach us.
Yeah, we want to just thank everybody for listening and being a part of our community. As many of you know, Legal Rideshare is the first law firm in the United States that's entirely dedicated to Uber, Lyft, and gig-related accident and injury claims. So if you're a gig worker, a delivery driver, a rideshare driver, and you get into an accident, we can help you collect your lost wages. We can help you get paid for your pain and suffering, recover money for your medical bills. If you've sustained any sort of damage as a result of an accident and injury, we're the law firm that can really get you back on your feet and put some money in your pocket. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. The best way to do that is through our website, legalrideshare.com. So please do not hesitate to contact us for a free consultation.
As always, thank you, Brian, for your expertise. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next week.